Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. *254# could be your ticket to riches, depending on how you decide to use the funds that you get. The Hustlers Fund is officially launched. President William Ruto launching the fund, and of course appealing to Kenyans who had been blacklisted from borrowing to make sure that this time they don't get back themselves into the very same trap.
Now, while the president was launching that noble initiative that he's made during his campaign trail, a majority of Kenyans are already waiting to have it rolled out. Just out of curiosity, did you try to sign up for the Hustler Fund? And how much are you worth?
Well, Safaricom. I have tried to apply, and I think I'm entitled to 900 shillings.
900 bob.
And you can imagine how much I can do with 900 shillings.
What you need to know if you are eligible actually to benefit from this particular fund drive is that 5% of what you will borrow will be transferred to your Hustlers savings account, an initiative that is also not only to help MSMEs, start up their businesses or even just ease access to credit for MSMEs, but also improve Kenya's saving culture.
And I'm sure you're wondering about the regulatory framework around the Hustlers Fund. In studio, we have the Member of Parliament for Nandi Hills, that is Bernard Kitur. He will be helping us, delve a bit into the regulatory framework around the Hustlers Fund. We'll talk about maize importation. There's another debate. Cabinet yesterday stopped maize importation up until February. And of course, other politics dominating the day today and indeed this week. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Here are tonight's highlights.
We have made interest 500 times lower than the average interest rate in the market. And that interest is going to serve only two purposes: to make sure that we can run the fund, and to make sure that the fund is available and is growing tomorrow to benefit the next person.
Walking the talk. President William Ruto launches the Hustler Fund, his key campaign pledge. Back to vetting. National Assembly resumes vetting of principal secretaries after overcoming the court blocking. And off the hook, Gender and Public Service CS Aisha Juma murder charges dropped. The broadcast is on for the next 1 hour. Let's inform you about what has been happening in the country. My name is John Jacob Kioria.
And I am Regina Manyara.
Our sign language interpreter tonight is Baron Abuli. Now, President Dr. William Ruto has finally unveiled his campaign flagship promise, that is the Hustlers Fund, and Kenyans can borrow at 8% a year.
Now, the 50 billion shillings basket will be available to Kenyans above the age of 18 years through mobile phone platforms, and the credit ticket ranges from 500 shillings to a maximum of 50,000 shillings.
The president has stamped the initiative as a revolution, and it will give those blacklisted by various lenders a new lease.
Uweze kupata mikopo kwa urahisi, uweze kutimiza mahitaji yako na ya biashara yako. Mkopo.
Finally, it is a reality as Kenyans now can access the Hustlers Fund. President William Ruto campaign promise tailored to uplift the livelihoods of millions of Kenyans locked out of the banking sector or blacklisted for defaulting on digital loans. The president on Wednesday terming the 50 billion shillings kitty a game changer, as it will be paid on 0.02% interest a day.
We have made interest 500 times lower than the average interest rate in the market. And that interest is going to serve only two purposes: to make sure that we can run the fund, and to make sure that the fund is available and is growing tomorrow to benefit the next person.
The fund has been clustered into 3 products where individual borrowing can access between 500 shillings and 50,000 shillings. Group borrowing will start from 50,000 shillings and capped at 250,000 shillings, followed by SMEs and cooperative borrowing.
We can aggregate potato farmers or growers along rivers in Molo, in Sagana, in Tana River, and into cooperatives to enable them access funding and connect them to, for example, the Twiga Food Company to sell their produce.
And those who repay within 14 days will pay no interest.
Msituangushe, hizi pesa mchukue, msifanyie kazi na mlipe, kwa sababu mkikosa kulipa tutakwama.
To be eligible, one must be above 18 and with a valid ID, a phone and a registered SIM card to access the loan by dialing *254# for individual borrowers.
Hakuna committee. Tumekubaliana technology ndio committee yetu. Wewe na simu yako. Hapo ndio committee itakuwa. Na vile na rekodi yako ya vile unakopa na kulipa. That is the committee.
The president said that the fund will replace the traditional collateral system that has always been built behind security, such as title deeds, logbooks, and the securities defranchising many. 5% of the borrowed amount will automatically be saved, and borrowers will be able to access 30% of their savings after 6 months and 70% after you hit the age of retirement through NSSF.
Utapata nafasi kwa sababu Wakenya wengi wanafanya biashara, hawajawahi kupata nafasi ya kuegeza mambo ya pension, kwa sababu sote tunafanya kazi leo, lakini kuna siku ambaye tutakuwa wazee na tutahitaji pesa pale tukiwa wazee.
Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Let's go to Parliament, where there was a resumption of the vetting of principal secretaries, and the principal secretary nominee for energy, there's Alex Washira, has committed to accelerate installation of power substations and connection to the national grid if approved by Parliament. Speaking during his vetting by the National Assembly Committee, Washira said he intends to lower the cost of energy through retiring thermal plants and dealing with cartels. Also, Broadcasting PS nominee Professor Edward Kisiangani has promised to enhance the budgetary allocation for the state broadcaster KBC if approved by Parliament.
Following the court ruling on Tuesday, National Assembly departmental committees resumed vetting of principal secretary nominees amid a tight deadline. Energy Principal Secretary nominee Alex Washira appeared before the Energy Committee to explain his plan to lower the cost of electricity in the country.
Ketrako has already done a line from Isinya, Adi River to Embakasi. But the substations have not been commissioned. But we should be able to commission those substations within the next probably 1 month or 2, and so therefore ensure that we have evacuated more power from Suswa through Isinya, Adi River, terminating in Embakasi.
Washira committing to prioritize completion of power lines and substations necessary to evacuate power from Olkaria geothermal plant and thereby gradually retire the thermal stations that are making power expensive.
The most expensive thermal power is Muhoroni gas plant that is consuming, it's a 60 megawatts project in Muhoroni that is run on kerosene. Honorable members, with the rising prices of kerosene, you can imagine the amount of money that we are using, and realizing that that plant alone is using about 300 liters per day, 300,000 liters per day of kerosene. How do we retire, for example, that plant? Honorable members, we have to evacuate as much power from Olkaria to western part of Kenya for us now to retire the Muhoroni gas plant.
Broadcasting PS nominee Professor Edward Kisiangani appeared before the Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation. The professor committing to enhance budgetary allocation for the state broadcaster KBC as a strategy to uplift the services offered by the broadcaster.
KBC is over-established. So we must address the staff establishment and make sure it has a lean space to work in, lean staff who can do the job within the required guidelines, and then we make money.
So there are 86
PS nominee for Correctional Services Mary Muthoni, appearing before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, promised to reduce congestion in prisons and introduce conjugal rights for inmates.
Correctional Services, not prisons alone, has 83,000 acres of land. This is land that can be utilized with the latest machineries in agriculture. If these people have been trained while in prison how to grow our maize, how to grow our beans, how to grow soya, by the time they come out of that prison, that person will be a different person.
The National Assembly committees are expected to table reports regarding nominees Thursday afternoon. Gishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
Now to the corridors of justice, where the Director of Public Prosecutions has dropped the murder charges against Gender Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumwa. The CS will, however, be a state witness in the case. This as Police Sergeant Ahmed Rashid has filed a petition at the High Court challenging his impending murder charges preferred on by him by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in connection to extrajudicial killings of 2 teenagers in Nairobi's Isili estate in 2017.
According to the DPP, the evidence, witness statements and ballistic evidence established there was not enough evidence to hold a trial against Jumwa. The Gender CS and former Kilifi MP, together with his aide Geoffrey Otieno Okuto, were charged with the murder of ODM supporter Jola Ngumao in 2019. It is alleged that the 2 and their supporters stormed the home of Ruben Katana, where a ODM strategy meeting was taking place, leading to the shooting of Ngumao. Jumwa will now personally appear in court on December 21st, when the DPP will present a letter to the court detailing his decision to drop the charge. Elsewhere, embattled police officer Ahmed Rashid now wants the murder charges approved by the Directorate of Public Prosecution on November 24th against him dropped. Rashid, through his lawyers, claimed the viral video of him allegedly killing 2 teenagers, Jamal Mohammed and Mohammed Dahir Khairi, in Isli First Avenue on March 31st, 2017, on suspicion of being members of a gang, could not be authenticated and does not meet the threshold set out in the Constitution.
The circumstances of this offense are as follows. A video clip was in the social media where an alleged police officer was shooting 2 young boys to death. That tape is the reason on which Ahmed Rashid is being charged. We have filed a petition challenging the decision to charge based on that tape.
He now wants DPP to recall the file and fresh investigations carried out before he can take plea that has been scheduled for 8th December. Sergeant Rashid was a member of the famous Pangani 6 Corps who are accused of a number of extrajudicial killings. A section of Isli business community, Kenya University student organization KUSO, and some members of public thronged the court to protest the intended criminal charges against Rashid. And a Kiambu court will on Thursday rule whether Kiambu politician Gladys Chania and her co-accused Maurice Mbogo Kamau will be released on bail in a case of the alleged murder of her husband George Mwangi. The prosecution was opposed to their release, arguing that they are likely to interfere with a key witness. Abdi Khair Mohammed for Prime Edition.
The curtains have come down on this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations amid watertight measures put in place by the government to protect the integrity of this year's national examinations. On the last day of the exams, candidates wrote social studies and religious education exams. This even as the Ministry of Education says the marking of the national exams are set to begin immediately after exam markers reported to their stations earlier this week.
About 2.5 million Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment candidates completed writing their national exams on Wednesday. The candidates wrapped up their 3-day exams with social studies and religious education examinations amid watertight measures put in place by the government to protect the integrity of this year's national examinations. In many parts of the country, the tests went smoothly, with only a few hitches. However, hundreds of candidates failed to write their national examinations on Tuesday due to logistical hitches in various parts of the country. The worst hit areas were in the North Rift, where candidates from as many as 52 examination centers failed to sit their papers after their institutions closed down due to the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the Ministry of Education, the marking of the exams are set to begin immediately after exam markers reported to their stations earlier this week. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
First Lady Rachel Ruto and the spouse of Deputy President Dorcas Gachagua have called on Kenyans to pray for the government to implement the manifesto Kenya Kwanza administration promised Kenyans successfully. Speaking after joining faithfuls for an interdenominational religious meeting in Thika, Kiambu County, they both echoed the sentiments of President William Ruto that the victory of the Kenya Kwanza government was through prayer. The First Lady encouraged Kenyans to take up the Hustler Fund and grow their businesses.
Within these 100 days, that the president and the deputy president gave promises to Kenya. One of the big things that is being done today is launching the Hustler Fund. And this fund is going to help us do business. I'm a believer of having a church that does business and a church that has money, Christians that are rich.
Our president always says that this government was prayed up. And therefore, as we stand here, we are a product of prayer.
And now that the Hustler Fund has been rolled out, the number you need to have actually cram from this mid-morning or this afternoon is none other than *254# for the Hustler Fund.
And your ID too. *254# and your ID. We're taking a breather. When we come back with more news lined up for you, and of course later our conversation with the Member of Parliament for Nandi Hills, Bernard Kitur. We talk about the Hustler Fund. We talk about the maize importation, obviously being stopped by Cabinet yesterday up until February, and there's so much to talk. There's so much more to talk about, including the ouster of the Cholera 4. Don't go too far.
Cheza loto, shinda pesa moto.
Wachua mamili leo na loto moto. Cheza ukianzia na shilingi 50 na ushinde milioni 2 kila siku. Kucheza ni rahisi zaidi. Kwenye M-Pesa, chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number, weka 757070. Account number, andika neno loto. Kisha, weka star. Alafu nambari yako ya simu. Kwenye amount, weka kiwango chochote cha pesa. Kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2000. Lipa na usubiri draw. Makinika papa hapa ili utimize ndoto zako na Loto Moto. Cheza kwa kuwajibika. Mchezo huu ni wazi kwa watu walio na umri wa miaka 18 na zaidi. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB. Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Fuel the excitement. Relish every moment. Get 1.5 GB at 50 bob. Valid for 3 hours. Furahia Futa. Dial *544 hash. Make Chaguo smarter na Airtel, the most affordable network.
But now there's a chance here. Opportunity. This could be number one. Good save by the goalkeeper, Danny Watts.
A good pass from Kane. This should have been a goal. With his quality, it should have been a goal. And it was also clever. He watched the goalkeeper before even kicking.
James Wilson off the defense. Rashford. Mistakes. This one. Good save by the goalkeeper. Follow up.
For them, and it's just unfortunate that he's very lucky. Sorry. That the English team didn't finish it.
Oh, that is a good save by the goalkeeper.
But no offside at all there, Jacob. He simply just didn't place himself properly.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. The drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. You can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
Welcome back, you're watching Prime Edition. Let's head over to Meru County. The High Court has blocked an impeachment motion by Meru County lawmakers against Meru Governor Kioria Mwangaza. In a ruling, Justice Tripisa Cherere said the members of County Assembly did not adhere to stipulated procedures.
Now, according to Cherere, the court is obliged to protect Mwangaza against violation rights in the process of an impeachment. Now, this as the Meru County Assembly has issued a statement to withdraw the afternoon motion in compliance with the law.
It is a 20-page ruling, but I'll only read the analysis and determination.
Meru High Court has stopped an impeachment motion by Meru members of County Assembly to oust Kioria Mwangaza as Meru Governor. In a ruling Wednesday, Justice Tripisa Cherere said the impeachment motion scheduled for debate by MCAs Wednesday afternoon is flawed and is hereby barred from taking place.
And upon considering the application and the preliminary objection, and after hearing the presentations of counsel, this court finds that the procedure adopted by the respondents to process the proposed motion of impeachment of the petitioner is flawed and has the effect of violating her constitutional rights.
The ruling further said that conservatory order is hereby issued to prohibit the respondents from discussing, debating, or in any way whatsoever dealing with the impeachment motion against the petitioner.
25th of January, confirm compliance and for further orders.
Tatungojea hiyo tarehe 25 Januari. Tunaomba kabla hiyo tarehe ifike, Mungu asimame akiwa Mungu, wafanye kikao, wakati chini kutoka MCS, kutoka Senate, kutoka Women Lab, wakae chini waelewane.
We are putting plans to remedy the situation and they shall advise on the way forward in the due course. Additionally, we wait the ruling of the court in order to be guided on the way forward.
Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza last week moved to court seeking orders to bar the county assembly from debating her impeachment motion. Through her lawyer, Elias Mtuma, Kawira argued that the publication of the impeachment motion was called and allegedly signed by a stranger in the assembly, acting as the clerk.
Nitalinda pesa zenu. Hiyo sitaregeza. Hiyo nitalinda. Number 2, nimesema nitatembea mashinani zaidi hata ya Zabweri wa hiyo eneo.
The impeachment motion was tabled by Abugeta West Member of County Assembly, Dennis Kiogora, who also doubles up as the minority chief whip on November 21st. Monday this week, a section of members of the public in Meru County moved to the region's county assembly grounds to issue their views on whether Governor Kawira Mwangaza should be impeached. Prior to this, there was an uproar from members of county assembly who claimed that Governor Mwangaza is avoiding to hold meetings with them in addressing regional concerns of the people of Meru.
It is the work of the assembly also now to come with motions they deem important. I also disagree with the court. But we live to fight another day.
We are not doing this for the sake of our own interest, but for the sake of people of Meru.
Irene Mchuma Odim, the Prime Edition.
Now, from Meru County, a total of 25 people have died from cholera outbreak, with a total of 1,094 cases of the killer disease reported across 10 counties in the country. Acting Director of Medical Services, Dr. Patrick Amoth, says Nairobi County is a hard hit, with 17 sub-counties already recording cases of cholera.
At Nairobi's Soweto informal settlement, community awareness by different stakeholders session is underway.
Tukimaliza siku 3 sasa tukisema cholera hakuna hapa, si tutafurahi? We can be very happy and we will be very proud.
Nairobi is among 10 counties that are leading in cholera outbreak cases. Other counties include Garissa and Machakos.
Sewage inatoboka kila mara. Unakuta imetoboka, ona kama hapa ndio hii hapa imetoboka. Wanakuja na mwaga dawa na inatoboka, na watoto sasa wamefunga shule. Inapita tu kila saa, unakuta wanashika wanaanza kulamba hiyo na wanaongi mikono.
Wanatuambia tufunge hoteli, na hizo hoteli hata wakifunga sisaidii. Kufunga hoteli na bado mavisi na flow huku sio solution.
Kuna pipes zenye zinaleta maji zimeungana na hii uchafu za choo.
Speaking at the launch of the Kenya Status Report on Infection Prevention and Control in Healthcare Facilities launch in Machakos County, Acting Director General Ministry of Health, Dr. Patrick Amoth, called on the county governments to increase awareness to curb spread of the disease.
As a national government, we have developed infection prevention control interventions together with the counties. We have done risk communication. We have supported the counties in terms of diagnostics, and we also working with the counties to ensure availability of safe potable water.
Amoth, however, has tasked stakeholders to come up with a roadmap to facilitate assessment and mitigate future outbreaks.
Close to 80-90% of healthcare workers don't actually practice infection prevention control measures. So one of our challenges as healthcare workers is to be able to change that practice, that what we preach and what we put in documents that we have developed, we actually practice that and can also be able to influence community members and households, then they can also be able to do the correct practices.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
The government has reiterated its commitment to eliminate mother-to-child HIV infections. The Director of Medical Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Andrew Mulwa, says that all players must be involved so as to give children an HIV-free start and prevent new infections. This even as concern is rife over cases of child defilement which are on the rise and exposing children to the disease.
At the Kenyatta National Hospital grounds in Nairobi County,
The pre-National AIDS Day is being celebrated ahead of the national celebration slated for Thursday in Bungoma County. The celebrations coming amid concern of people living with HIV and AIDS failing to adhere to medication, with community urged to journey with patients of HIV and AIDS and give them necessary support to avoid negating gains already made.
We've seen a worrying trend of people who are getting tired of taking their drugs. And when a mother gets tired of taking her medicine, she will show up here with an HIV-infected child. She will show up here with her child who is not virally suppressed.
We also urge all to empathize with adolescents and young people living with HIV in our spaces as we seek to reinforce adherence to ART and foster their resilience in their lives.
Director of Medical Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Andrew Mulwa, has emphasized the need to protect newborn babies from infection, noting this is one of the Ministry of Health's priority areas.
Let all, including pregnant mothers, men health providers in private or public sector, and communities do all it takes to give every child in Kenya a HIV-free start.
Stakeholders are also raising concern over increased cases of child abuse, including defilement, especially in urban settings, a situation that has made them susceptible to infections.
And the perpetrators are grown-ups, you and me, and the end result of those children who are abused is HIV/AIDS. People are walking naked in the presence of our children. People are playing loud music at this time when children are doing exams. Surely, where are we heading as a generation?
And in some of our studies we've done a good job and educated a lot of the young women, but they do not have the power to protect themselves against the male counterparts who have not received similar education.
During the celebrations, 3 documents were launched, including the Kenya HIV Testing Services Operation Manual, Pre-Exposure Prophylaxis Framework to inform introduction of new commodities, and the PrEP Toolkit for service providers. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Now, men in uniform often make sacrifices beyond their normal call of duty for the common good.
Unfortunately, most of their good deeds go unnoticed as the society focuses more on the negative stories.
Now, the film Mpakani, which is our focus on the segment Cinemas and Theatre, tells the story of sacrifices men and women in uniform make, as well as the untold stories beyond their duty.
Jacqueline Masharia gives us a look.
Mpakani, a 45-minute action drama, features a special intervention unit of the administration police.
Panther, medic.
This unit is dispatched to the front line in Wajir on the Kenya-Somalia border to deal with the threat posed by the notorious Al-Shabaab commander who is planning a major terrorist attack in Nairobi. In each episode, the unit formulates and executes a mission based on intelligence received as they seek to thwart attempts by the Al-Shabaab to infiltrate the country and cause harm.
Mpakani was commissioned to show a story of 6 officers working on our border on the north part of Kenya, and we've all had stories from there, we've all had news features. So as filmmakers, we thought this is a nice genre to try and go into because service work and family are very related.
This story talks about the police, the soldiers, the army, just being normal people going through everyday experiences, challenges. Apart from just being in uniform, when they're back to being the kawaida citizen, they also go through the same situations, same challenges, same issues that every single person goes through.
Produced by Foxton Media, the film director Victor Gatonya notes the hardest task was finding a lead actor who would bring out the authenticity of the film.
First thing was to get the right lead. We did strain him really hard, and he was quite cool. He was messed up by the end of the day, and he was very positive, and he walked out. And we all went there, we have a lead. So after we got Cloud, then getting the other characters was quite easy.
As an actor, Mpakani has really given me the role I've always wanted in life. I really needed to prove to myself, not just to the to guys, but to myself that I can actually do this, and it's actually something I really wanted to do. So yeah, I gave it my all.
I had to learn a different language I've never even spoken before, but I had to do it for the film. It was quite challenging to me, but I managed. I went through everything, and I got something good out of it. I loved it at the long last.
University. Sniper. 1, 2, 3.
The film industry has equally to good sides. It also has challenges. We live in a society where you have to prove yourself. So if you're in the film industry and you've never really gotten a chance to really showcase what you can do, it becomes hard to actually attract the right audience, the right boss in terms of the right production. So you can be good and you believe you're good, but if you don't have the platform to show that, it will take you quite some time before you can actually showcase what you have.
Our art scene post-COVID, it's produced more than ever. We've really done well. The movies that are coming out are really nice.
The series, recorded in Nairobi, Kiambu and Samburu counties, takes the audience through the lives of the officers while on duty by capturing the real-life situations they face daily. The show, in a special way, highlights the prowess of the specially trained units as they conduct a mission. Jacqueline Manyara for Cinemas and Theatre.
Make transactions anywhere in the world with the NCBA Visa card and stand a chance to win big. Join the FIFA World Cup 2022 when you win an all-expenses-paid trip for you and your +1 to watch 2 games. Or win exciting weekly prizes that will make your FIFA viewing experience super duper. All it takes is a swipe or a tap to pay 2,000 Kenya shillings or more with your NCBA Visa debit or credit card. The more you swipe or tap to pay, the higher your chances of winning with 1 point for every 2,000 Kenya shillings spent. Don't miss out. NCBA. Go for it.
Feel the excitement. Relish every moment. Get 1.5 GB at 50 bob. Valid for 3 hours. Furahia futa. Dial *544#. Make chaguo smarter na Airtel, the most affordable network.
Wachua mamili leo na Loto Moto. Kucheza ni rahisi zaidi. Kwenye M-Pesa, chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno loto kisha weka star. Alafu nambari yako ya simu. Kwenye amount weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2000. Lipa na usubiri draw. Cheza kwa kuwajibika. Mchezo huu ni wazi kwa watu walio na umri wa miaka 18 na zaidi.
Let's focus on some business. Scientists have dispelled concerns that introduction of GMOs would disrupt conventional crops through cross-pollination and that they have different nutritional value. Led by Kenya National Academy of Science Chair Professor Atema Michieka, the scientists say Kenya has biosafety measures and research capacity to regulate the GMO value chain. This emerged as Livestock Principal Secretary Hari Kimutai said the government plans to appeal the High Court ruling stopping GMO use in Kenya.
Over 70 countries have embraced GMO crops for consumption, with about 30 countries producing and exporting the crops. Scientists from across the continent want African countries to adopt mass cultivation and importation of GMOs for food security.
And are proven to be a highly successful farm tool, delivering production, environmental and safety benefits. Foods from biotech crops also have been eaten for 25 years thereabout, with really no specific verified problems being reported.
That regarding the market products, academies will advise case by case on the basis of knowledge acquired.
They say thorough investigation and research has gone into GMO crops and has been proven to bring maximum yields and assured returns.
Of cash commercialization, there is demonstrated evidence that GMO crops are more productive in quantity than conventional varieties. There are statistics to that effect.
In addition, the Network of African Scientist Academies want governments to increase the capacity for researchers to explore biotechnology in the improvement of farming practices, to promote sustainable agriculture and resilient food systems in the continent.
GMO crops on the market today have the same nutritional values, nutritional composition as any other crops that are non-GMO. They just, if you analyze the nutrients, chemical composition of those crops, there is the same. There is no difference in that composition.
In October this year, Kenya lifted the ban on GMOs as a food security measure after Kenya experienced the worst drought in 40 years. But the High Court temporarily stopped its implementation.
The National Biosafety Authority and the Attorney General are appealing against that decision, and it was heard from one party. Now we expect the High Court also to listen to the side of the government in regard to the GMO issue.
Horticulture value chain players are concerned that European market might soon introduce certification requirements due to a lack of clear policy on GMOs.
Trading partners like EU and the rest of the places where we export start asking us whether we export in GMO. And for us it's no, because the seed we plant is not GM. There's a process, there's a procedure, and because there's no clarity so far from government in terms of formal communication on what's going on, it's causing confusion. And this confusion needs to be brought to a rest by the Ministry of Agriculture and by a safety authority, so that they give comfort to the country and give comfort to the world.
And now scientists are dispelling fears not only to farmers but to Kenyans that GM maize is here for their benefit and not for their downfall. Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
The government plans to move all its services onto digital platforms in the next 6 months. The move is meant to streamline service delivery and make them easily available to the public. ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says 500 government services will be leveraged on the eCitizen website. Currently, there are over 300 government services that can be accessed online at the Huduma centers across the country and on mobile phones.
Since 2004, the government has been on a mission to introduce electronic government services to streamline public services. This has also seen the launch of an electronic platform dubbed e-Citizen, where more than 300 government services can be accessed. ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says all government services will be moved to the e-Citizen platform by June next year.
As we speak, we have onboarded about 350 government services on the e-Citizen platform. We are going to enhance the capacity, capability, reliability of the technological platforms so that within the next 6 months, we shall have onboarded a minimum of 5,000 government services.
Owalo says the government is firmly committed to overhauling its systems from analog to digital.
To align to what we are doing at ministry level, let us get also all HR processes automated. Okay? And where we can support, where we can partner, we will partner with HR regime so that we get all HR processes, systems.
That's the most important, I believe, two important things for the institution to learn: human capital and ICT.
Owalo has also said the government will increase access to broadband coverage of the 3G network and increase digital literacy among the public sector workforce. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
And now the Bank of Kigali Group made 5 billion shillings in net profit during the first 9 months of this year, representing an 18.4% increase that was driven by interest earnings, transactions income, and reduced loan loss provisions. The Kenya and Rwanda cross-listed lender says the loan loss provisions decreased 50.1% to 1.4 billion shillings after non-performing loans ratio decreased to 4.6% from 6.2%. Here are the details of this and other stories in our corporate briefs.
The percentage of COVID-19 related loans for Bank of Kigali Group on moratorium reduced to 2.7% of the gross loans from 47% restructured facilities. The total income grew 9.9% to 16.5 billion shillings, helped by a 4.4% expansion in net loans and advances to 119.6 billion shillings. Non-interest income increased 13.0% to 3.5 billion shillings. The lender's total assets stood at 203.4 billion shillings, up 13.4% over the previous period. Meanwhile, a tax credit has powered KenGen to double its full-year net profit that increased 157% from 1.8 billion shillings to 4.7 billion shillings. KenGen commissioned 86 megawatt Olkaria 1 Unit 6, earning it a tax expense reduction, powering up revenue by 7.5% to 49.2 billion shillings. KenGen Acting Manager Director Abraham Serem says the firm is keen to explore opportunities in the e-mobility space after unveiling 4 electric vehicles. And in efforts to reduce school disruptions due to challenges about paying school fees, Aspira Kenya has launched an education loan product. The firm says its survey about Christmas holiday plans found that while planning for the festive season, most parents were worried about their ability to pay school fees in January.
And it's a big stress on a lot of parents to be able to afford to pay that upfront. They really would like a solution that supports them to be able to manage their cash flows better for the school fees for their children. And we can offer you school fee financing for the rest of your children's school and university careers.
Finally, Old Mutual has partnered with the Kenya Urban People Association to roll out an initiative to empower the clergy with financial skills for unforeseen eventualities. The partnership seeks to address gaps such as inconsistent income, better church infrastructure, retirement benefits, and last mile cover.
We believe that by the fact that the clergy can influence the congregants and give them the requisite financial knowledge, which as Old Mutual we are going to impact to them, we then will be able to address the needs of this market segment.
Terry Njenga, Prime Edition.
Tulisema tutatimiza. Michuano ya World Cup imeshika kasi na Wakenya wanaendelea kutazama michuano hii kupitia stesheni waipendayo ya KBC Channel 1. Na sasa, kwa ushirikiano na Sports Pesa, tunakuletea michuano ya World Cup mtaani mwako kupitia Big Screen Viewing bila malipo. Tarehe 30 Novemba, msafara wetu utang'oa nanga Naivasha na kumalizia mjini Nakuru, uwanja mkabala na Merika Hotel. Ijumaa tarehe 2 Disemba, jitokeze Eldoret kwa uwanja karibu na Zion ujione miamba wa Afrika Ghana wakikabiliana na Uruguay na baadaye Cameroon wakimenyana na Brazil kwenye dimba hili. World Cup.
Can we say World Cup iko KBC now before we bring you up to speed with what has been happening with the global showpiece that is ongoing in Qatar? And we know that in the next few minutes or so, we're going to be having matches that are set to be played at 10 p.m. Let's look at those stories that have been making headlines across the sporting arena, where about 100 elite athletes are expected to participate in the 7th edition of the Conservation Marathon for Chemususu Dam this Saturday. However, the marathon, organized at a cost of more than 13 million shillings, has attracted a total of 3,000 athletes.
The 7th edition of the Chemususu Marathon will be held this Saturday, the first time it's being held since 2019. It has attracted 3,000 athletes, including 100 elite athletes. The marathon has been held over the past few years to enhance conservation of the Chemususu Dam, create health awareness in the community, and support education and talent incubation programs. The first edition of the marathon was held in 2014, with this year's race, which will have 3 categories: the half marathon, 10 and 5 kilometer races, starting at Chemususu Primary School this Saturday. The event was, however, not held in 2020 and 2021 due to COVID-19 restrictions. Chemususu Dam is one of the biggest dams constructed by the Kenyan government at a cost of about 7 billion shillings. Its construction started in 2009 and was completed in 2013 and holds a capacity of 15 million cubic meter of water.
More than 80 teams will compete in the 2nd edition of the Rift Valley Volleyball Tournament that is set to be held early next month. The event has been organized as part of the Kenya Volleyball Federation's project of lifting the standards of the game across the country.
This is the 2nd edition of this tournament, whereby we had an inaugural tournament last year at the same venue. Last year, as my brother Bitok has indicated, we attracted a record of 88 teams drawn as far as from Nyeri, Nairobi, and Turkana counties, participating in various categories. That was the senior category, self-supporting teams, or stroke community teams, and of course the 3rd category was schools, stroke colleges, both basic, primary and secondary schools, colleges and universities.
As you can see, nearly we are ready for this year, because he stands with us and is ready to take us to the next level. It's not easy to have someone like him fighting all the time about athletes and also the volleyball family.
Mukiona iko sehemu bunge inaweza fanya kusaidia mambo ya sport katika taifa letu la Kenya, sisi kama bunge, kama kuna sheria inahitajika tupitishe, mimi nitakuwa mstari wa mbele vile nimekuwa kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunapitisha sheria, kwa sababu hatuwezi, hawa vijana, tunapata vijana karibu milioni 4 ambao kila mwaka, ama milioni 1.2 kila mwaka vijana wanatoka wanakuja kufanya kuingia ile job market. Tunaweza saidia vijana kwa kuhakikisha sekta ya sports inapata rasilimali ya kutosha.
Now let's talk World Cup, and Argentina will be looking forward to leapfrog of Poland to be at the top of Group C and qualify for the last round of 16 in the ongoing World Cup.
Senegal's 2-1 victory saw the African team finish 2nd in Group A with 6 points from their 3 matches and will battle out with England, who secured a 3-0 second-half victory over Wales. United States also advanced to the knockout stage after a 1-0 win over Iran and will take on Netherlands. Meanwhile, Argentina will be looking forward to leapfrog Poland to the top of Group C and qualify on the last 16 when they battle it out at Stadium 974. In other matches, Saudi Arabia will take on Mexico.
Now, to just give you a recap of the matches that were played at 6 p.m. today, we had France there that has, lost, unfortunately, to Tunisia there in a match that was played at 6 p.m. there. The defending champs there could not manage a score, and the score that was made towards the last minutes of the extra time by Griezmann was actually termed as offside. So France lost to Tunisia 1-0 there. And there was a lot of joy and jubilation from the fans of Tunisia there. But nonetheless, the defending champs are at the top of their group and they sailed through the knockout stages. Unfortunately, Tunisia, despite their spirited fight and winning against the defending champs, they are out of the World Cup there. And this is courtesy of a game that was played between Australia and Denmark, where Australia made a solitary defining goal against Denmark. This means that Tunisia is out, as well as Denmark is out of the round of 16, so to speak. In a few minutes, we're going to be watching Poland take on Argentina at 10 p.m. as well as Mexico there is going to be squaring it out with Saudi Arabia. Remember, World Cup, KBC. I wonder who is going to be carrying the day. But now, let's speak matters current affairs, and I hand it over back to JJ. To you, JJ.
Thank you very much, Regina. Let's just get right into a conversation. The Member of Parliament for Nandi Hills, the Honourable Bernard Kitur, is with us in studio to talk about, the events of the day, and most importantly, being the launch of the Hustler Fund. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
Asante. Let's talk about the Hustler Fund. There is what you went around telling the people of Kenya as the President William Ruto sought the votes of Kenyans. The launch today, is it a fulfillment of that promise? Did it fall short of that promise?
It's a confirmation that we have a very serious president who stands by his word. Indeed, when he went round, he had promised that within the shortest time when he will be in leadership, now about 100 days, he had said by 1st of December, indeed, he's been able to beat the timeline. So we have a very serious president. He's been able to deliver that which we know will completely transform the economic model of those that are on the lower cadre of the pyramid.
And today has been a very busy day for you people, that you had to pass the requisite legislation for the Hustler Fund, and then an hour or so later the president is launching the fund.
In the government of President William Ruto, everybody must put on their safety belts. Of course, there is so much. So today in the morning, we woke up very early in the morning. We went to pass that legislation, the legislation that ring fences the Hustler Fund, and then we had to rush and begin the interviews for those who have the PSS, and we are even continuing. Even I just came from the meeting. We are now doing the report, because tomorrow we will be able to present the same to the main floor of the House and pass it off. This is how serious the president is, because he wants the PS in office and that Kenya has to move forward. So this is how serious the whole process is.
Tell us the thought that goes, because you were making the legislation earlier this morning, the thinking that goes into 500 shillings, because I think you've seen the debate on social media of people asking, 500 shillings, surely. How does it help me out?
First of all, you will never understand what 500 shillings means when you're a middle class until the day you go to the market and see a mama mboga who has, or those who used to borrow 1,000 shillings in the morning, and they go buy their grocery, they buy the bananas, they buy potatoes, and then they sell. And in the evening, they have to pay back with probably 100 shillings. That is about 1,100 shillings that they have to get in the evening. And the following day, the same process begins. When they get this money now from the government that you've had, it is at an interest of 8%. And like as it were in the normal circumstances, where it used to be about 10% per day, and the only is about 360%. But look at it this way, that you can be able to borrow that 1,000 shillings and be able to repay the same within 14 days, where you are within that period. In the other incident, it would have meant that you would have been paying 10% on a daily basis. What today has happened is tremendous, and it's going to completely change the economics of this country.
How do you respond to your opponents across the floor who say the Hustler Fund is a pyramid scheme? It's an intention by government to run out other lenders in the country.
What I will tell them is let them watch this space. It's just a matter of time. What I can tell you is there's nothing the president does that he does not involve us, the leaders in Kenya Kwanza, for instance. He shares with us his vision very clearly. I can tell you this is going to be a sustainable fund. If the private sector, like the Mshwari and the rest, had been able to run this business for that long while, this is one that is guaranteed by government, and it has an interest in it, by the way, so that it has sustainability. A very tiny, small interest. Part of it is for management, and part of it is also to grow the fund. And you've read the mind of the president. He's been promoting the aspect of saving. Now, it has a saving component. These are the safeguards that this fund has. I can tell you. It's just a matter of time. Of course, at the moment, you've started with individual borrowers, but as it goes forward, we'll be having now the cooperatives, and now those people who are saying the 900 shillings is less for them, their time will come, that they will be able now to access more funds.
Let's talk about safeguards, because this being a government fund, there's obviously a notion out there, there's no hurry to return government money, and I think you saw the number of people who are waiting for the president to announce the code so that they can borrow, because there are those who think out there it's free money or we can just go without paying. What are these cautionary measures you put in the law for those who do not refund or who do not pay up once they have been given this money?
I think, as it were, there are these people called the hustlers. Any hustler wants to make, they want to make a profit. They want to earn. They want to trade. They may not be having that access to credit. Now, this fund, that is why it's graduating from those who are on at 500. When you are able to return, your credit score grows. If you are not able to return, say after 15 days, now there will be a slight penalty of 1.5% interest. That comes to 9.5%. But what happens is every Kenyan wants to grow, and this is one of the easiest funds. Of course, you will not be blacklisted, but your credit score will go down. So I can tell you, this fund is basically meant for those that wish to grow.
For those who wish to grow?
Yes.
But there are those who will be managing the funds. Of course, the president said that we have removed the committee. But those in charge of the fund, if they mismanage the Hustlers Fund, what happens? Because projects like this or initiatives like this have ended being, a big elephant sometimes and ending up in corruption.
I can tell you this without mincing words. This is something that is at the heart of the president. And he has ring-fenced it so well that anybody who is going to mismanage that fund will be liable to being penalized up to 10 million shillings. I can tell you, don't joke with this fund. Yeah.
Don't joke with the fund.
Yes.
Talk about maize importation, because members of parliament, particularly from the Rift Valley, came out guns blazing the other day. Their guns trained on Moses Kioria, the cabinet secretary for trade, because of importation of maize. The cabinet yesterday said, first of all, we're going to buy 30 million bags from farmers before we can think of importation. Are your guns down now?
Yes. Obviously, at the very beginning, there were mixed statements that were being issued a little bit, but I think that has been clarified. We all knew anyway that the president was well seized, being the leader of, and he comes from particularly those regions. So the issue of maize is because our concern at the time was we are at the season that we are now harvesting maize, and we have enough in our stores, and the government had not been able to buy this maize. And going back a bit, the production inputs that the farmers had used to be, all these farmers are trying all that they can to provide food for our nation. At that time, the fertilizer was at all-time 6,500, and the cost of fuel, of course, was very high for those who were, tilling the land. So it would have been very unfair to have been able to open for millers to be able, or private investors to be able to import maize that are cheap and they are duty-free into the country. That would have disenfranchised so many of the farmers. And so the concerns then were legitimate, but I want to thank the cabinet that they made the statement yesterday, their commitment that they will give room up to February for farmers now to be able to probably sell the maize that they have, and then from there they can be able to open. Of course, we expect that we will be able to harvest about 30 million bags, and there will be a shortage of about 10 million. So I'm sure around that time, of course, there are regions in this country as well that they will also be harvesting around that time. But I'm sure the government is seized into it, and I'm sure around that time they will make the proper decisions.
The small matter of price, because you mentioned it, and the circumstances under which the maize that is going to be harvested this time, the circumstances under which it is being harvested, obviously because of the high cost of fertilizer or even mechanization. Have you agreed with government in a way, as members of parliament from that region, on the cost of a bag of maize, so that you don't end up with government buying it cheaper than the cost of production?
I think at the moment the market mechanisms dictate the prices is upward where we are all comfortable at the point at which millers are now buying. But I suppose now going forward, since we'll be having fertilizer that has been pegged at the price of about 3,500, and I'm sure all the other farm inputs will be lowered down, so that then going forward the food production is going to go down. Then we would expect that the price may go down way ahead. But for the moment, we are comfortable with the price. And in fact, my encouragement to all farmers is that let us sell the maize that we have.
There's this issue of members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza, because I think the heat that emanated from the maize importation story is likely to either have caused a friction within the coalition, or it was assumed by the media that there was friction out of it. Is there friction?
No. I can tell you Kenya Kwanza is united as ever. This emanates from, I repeat again, the captain that we have. He has always been holding briefs with us every now and then. He's been consulting with the leaders, so we are united. Sometimes there's that small difference in terms of the opinion, but that is normal. But as it stands right now, we are on the course. So, and that is water under the bridge.
You guys are okay. As we wind up, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is going to write a report on the 4 commissioners. But as they write this report, their peers from Azimio are not in this committee. They did not participate in the hearings. And were it not for KCP and KCSE, we probably would have had demonstrations today.
I want to make it clear that the issue of the 4 commissioners, Juliana Cholera, Irene Masit, I think Francis Wanderi, and Justice Nyang'aya, there were 4 parties that came forth and they presented a petition to Parliament over their conduct of the election during the election announcement times. Now, if I take you back a bit, John, to around 2012, there was a time we had a Deputy Chief Justice of this country who was found in a small altercation with a security guard. And because of that, it was found it was lack of integrity. What happened to the Chief Justice? There was a petition. It was hard. And the Chief Justice lost the seat on the basis of a very, it would have been said a small altercation. Now, how much more on a massive matter that would have caused this country into, it would have plunged this, we know where we've come from as a country, and so this matter is weighty. And the fact that some of these commissioners did not appear in JLAC to be heard, I'm sure the report will be tabled and it will be brought to Parliament. Now, let me tell you, it's an excuse for the opposition to say that the reason they are giving for them not going to the streets is because of children or our pupils who are doing the KCP and the like. No, that is not it. Because Kenyans are now concerned about, there's a hustler fund that has come. People want to do business. Nobody wants to still go on the streets and do those demonstrations. I can tell you, the opposition needs to maybe style up and get other ways of having to, check on government. But the issues of going to the streets, not anymore in this country.
Let's talk about the fairness of a process, and particularly what was conducted by JLAC. 5 members of Kenya Kwanza, obviously minus those ones from Azimio, because they walked out of the hearings of that committee. Of course, there's what has been said by Raila Odinga in terms of, mob lynching. But when you talk about the fairness of a process, the president tweeted the other day, the laws of impunity who destroyed oversight institutions using the handshake fraud should allow Parliament to hold rogue officials who put the nation in danger by subverting the democratic will of the people to be held to account. New order is rule of law, not wishes of big men. By the president referring to these officials as rogue, isn't it, number one, conviction? The president trying to convict them in the public podium. But secondly, also a signal to members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza that you can go ahead and remove these commissioners.
I want you to understand very clearly that the president is in executive. We are in the legislature.
But you have said here, Mheshimiwa, that you hold very serious sittings with the president, obviously discussing about his agenda.
Yes, you see, that's a different thing. We are in the government. We were sponsored by the party that is in the ruling government, but the president is in the executive. We are in parliament and we are very independent. Those are the opinions of the president. But JLAC will be able to table a report, and this report will be heard by those in opposition and those in government. All right? So the walkout by those already in opposition tells you probably because they had also an opportunity, they can be able to, they were in the committee, they will participate in making the report. The fact that they walked out knows you can always tell to yourself.
What if they stage another walkout during debate of that report?
And then there are rules of the House that the vote will come and wherever it will go. Yes.
Have you taken a position, as we wind up, have you taken a position as Kenya Kwanza on the fate of these 4 commissioners?
No. We are waiting for the report from JLAC. So once the report comes, we will debate, and then I will make that decision.
All right. Fantastic. This is where we put a cap on the interview, of course, on Prime Edition, and wish you all the best. It's been quite a busy day. Tomorrow, again, you debate the report of the committees on the various PSs. You expect that we'll sail through all of them?
We hope so.
You hope so?
Each committee will definitely table the report, and then it will be discussed in Parliament, and then the decision will be made. So I'm hopeful that depending on the committee that the reports they will be able to table in Parliament, we hope that they will all sail, hopefully.
All right. Yes. And obviously Parliament has finally wound up on the issue of vetting PSS. Tomorrow you debate the report, so probably again by Friday we are likely to see the swearing in of these PSS and the final formation of President Dr. William Ruto's government. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us tonight. Regina?
But before we let Mheshimiwa leave, we'd want to know which team he's supporting for the World Cup. World Cup iko KBC. We want to know which team you're supporting.
I am African, so I'm still looking forward that Morocco will do some miracle a bit.
Morocco?
Yes.
Oh, God. I wish he was supporting Senegal. Anyway.
Senegal is out.
Senegal is not out. Senegal
is not out
Senegal
yet.
is not out. They have qualified to round of 16.
Yes,
so we actually expect they will do better.
Yeah.
And of course, Morocco, being an African team. But I'm holding 40 for Senegal.
Well, for tonight, let's talk about tonight's game. I think I'll stand with the underdogs. That is a game between Poland and Argentina. I have nothing against Messi, but I want to see the underdogs actually take it. I mean, that's my team for tonight.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. This is how we put a cap on Prime Edition. Our sign language interpreter has been Baron Abuli. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Good night.
And I am Regina Manyara. Remember, World Cup iko KBC.
Kabisa.